Educators being quite time poor may need small segments of time to be able to do a little bit of programming and planning throughout their day. And a mobile space is really perfect for that, right?
Hi everybody, my name's Mufaro, the Community and Engagement Lead for ANZ. I'm sitting here with Mason Matty, the Head of Product Design for Explore Childcare and Education. Mason, how you going today?
Good man. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. So we're going to dive into the background of the feature that's come out in Playground app, programming and planning. Super exciting to have this feature out. Tell us a little bit about the background of how this feature set came about and, where we are in the process now.
Yeah, so one of the really important things for us is trying to make sure that everything we do is informed by educators. So one of the big things that we had learnt through our research was that educators are very time poor. So, I mean, that might seem obvious to a lot of people, but making sure that we keep that front of mind with all of our decisions is really important. So we understand that, our playground product sits in a web space as well as an app space, and they may have some different functionality, and we wanted to start bringing that together. So educators being quite time poor may need small segments of time to be able to do a little bit of programming and planning throughout their day. And a mobile space is really perfect for that, right? So our first step in that direction is enabling that programming and planning space within our mobile offering. That is sort of the tip of the iceberg of where we want to go. It's really important to continue to listen to educators and providing a native space for programming and planning where you can sit down with a mobile device, whether that's your mobile phone or a tablet, and get your thoughts in there, collect information, reflect on information, build out new spaces, but also have the flexibility to jump onto a web browser, sit down at a computer when you do have an extended amount of time to be proactive, to do a little bit more in-depth thinking. So this new feature of allowing educators, I should say, to be able to program and plan in both environments is really important.
Coming back to how we listen to our customers, and that's definitely, something that is becoming quite of the core of what we're doing here at Explore. Tell us a little bit more about the research phase of this feature.
Sure. So a little bit earlier this year, we wanted to step back from a lot of the sort of assumptions and thinking that we'd been doing and reconnect with the sector. So we put together a group which we called the Educator Advisory Group, which was reaching out to a lot of the leaders in pedagogy throughout our customer base and asking them where they believed the most value would lie for the sector in our sort of offering. And one of the big things that came out of that was improving our programming and planning. The first step, as we've established, was just enabling that space for more people. Some people only have tablets. Some centres don't have a computer. And so really enabling them to use Playground in its most powerful format across both web and app was one of the big things in there. Following on from that, we're starting to look into how we can enable users to do things faster. I mean, we're all here to automate administration, and that really means less time using our products and more time with the kids. So anything we can do to make that a reality is really our sort of core mission. So we hope to move fast, and research does come in the form of speaking with others. So we do research groups like I just spoke about. We also reach out to educators proactively to speak to them in their environment. COVID's been a little bit of a speed bump in being able to actually go to centres and do what we call contextual inquiries, where we actually sit with educators and see them work in their environment and try and experience that firsthand. But one of our objectives, especially within my team, is to get back into centres to see how people use our software on a day-to-day basis, which could be very different from how we imagine it to work. We test everything that we design with educators, so we'll make prototypes and sketches, whether they're just ideas in our head or very sort of high fidelity, almost app-like prototypes for people to use and give us feedback on whether it makes sense, whether they can use it easily. And then the final one, which is really the core of this feature being released, is data. So we did this really fast so we can get it out there and enable educators to do more programming and planning on a daily basis. And what we hope to get from that is really fast feedback on what works, what doesn't, and then take that feedback on and iterate on it quickly. So for us to be able to create a really good native mobile experience, we need feedback from educators to make sure we're making the right decisions. And we felt that the best way to do that was to get this version of programming and planning out on a mobile device and start getting that data coming through so we can iterate on it really quickly.
That's awesome. And it's just great that we were able to bring together a group of, professionals in their fields, respected professionals in their fields, together to sort of help birth this feature. And that's really awesome. One of the other things that I want to ask about is, what is programming and planning beyond web in app? So we have the Playground Web obviously available on the desktop, and this is where educators have natively gone to do additional documentation, canvases, tables, planning, etc. We're bringing all that functionality into the app. What is the difference between using the Playground app and using programming and planning in there and just signing on to Playground desktop on your iPad to remain remote?
Well, yeah, it's a really good question, right? And I think we're still learning that. Myself, a really important part is to continue to interact with educators. So we kind of have an understanding from learning frameworks and educators providing us with templates and speaking with educators around how they do their programming and planning. But we really want to stay highly engaged with the sector to make sure we're making the right decisions. In terms of our vision, my colleague Nisha actually framed it the best when she said, we really want to make a flexible space for educators to confidently organize their programming and planning. We don't really want to lock anyone into a certain way of doing things. People like to plan on different time cycles in different ways. And as I mentioned earlier, things can be really stressful with time. So enabling educators to programming and plan the way they like to programming and plan in their own time, in their own frameworks and structures is really the sort of core of what we want to offer. We don't want to force anyone to do the planning our way. We want to do it their way. So what we're doing at the moment is speaking very heavily with educators, making sure that any of our design decisions are being validated by those educators so that we can confidently put a product out there which meets their needs.
I mean, speaking of those design decisions, it's all about enhancing the user experience in the end, right? Absolutely. So there will be those differences felt between just going onto Safari and trying to access Playground Web from there and actually just using it natively on your device, which is going to be a super awesome experience for our educators. I can just feel it. I guess the final question I have for you, Mason, is what's next for programming and planning? What is next for the evolution of Playground?
Well, it is native, I truly believe. The sector really wants things to be accessible on mobile devices, so we're moving towards that. We really want that space for people to confidently organize their programming and planning. And I think the ultimate goal is to make it more community-based. I think we want to sort of democratize this. Again, time is something that I stress because it's something that comes up with every educator we speak to. So enabling them to have access to a community space where they can work together and help each other program and plan, I believe will, help people do things faster. And that's kind of what we're all about, right?
Mason, thank you so much for your time today. And for everyone else watching at home or watching from your center, thank you for joining us for this first episode of Diving Deep into Our Products. And we'll see you next time. Thanks, Mason.
Cheers.